Village of Vernon Hills, and we're calling to order the meeting of the village's Board of Trustees for March 6, 2018. I need a roll call, please.
Trustee Marquardt?
Here.
Trustee Cook?
Here.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Here.
Trustee Takaoka?
Here.
Trustee Hebda? Here. Trustee Schultz?
Here. Mr. Clerk, at this time I'd like to nominate Trustee Cook to be President pro tempore for the remainder of this meeting.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Okay, we have a quorum and the meeting's been called to order, so would everyone please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item is citizens wishing to address the board on something that's not on the Committee of the Whole agenda or something later. Yes. If you come up, please, and state your name and address for the record.
My name is David Halperin. I live at 415 River Grove Lane in the River Grove subdivision down the street. And what I want to talk about is the development across from us, the 51 homes that are going to be built and probably have occupancy sometime next year. The problem I have is that you guys, the Planning Commission, and you, the board, have approved the development that allows only right in and right out, both on Route 45 and Buffalo Grove Road. That's going to cause people who want to go north on Buffalo Grove Road or go north on Route 45 to cut through our development, to turn around and go back north, because there's no other way for these people to go north the way you guys have approved this development. And we're really upset about that in our development, because that means people go into other people's driveways, they'll go around the cul-de-sac, and that's not right. And so something needs to be done to alleviate that problem.
Dave?
John and I had a conversation about it the other day.
Yeah, I was going to ask either John or our village engineer.
I certainly can help with that. As part of the approval process, as you know, Route 45 is a state highway.
Right.
Buffalo Grove Road is a county highway. So as part of the approval process, one thing that was really important in terms of that subdivision was we did not want to just have one access. From a fire standpoint and safety standpoint, we wanted to make sure there was two access. At first, on Route 45, it was full access and only a right out of the subdivision. Ultimately, it was approved to have a right in, right off of a Buffalo.
I understand that, David, but the problem is people take shortcuts, and that shortcut will be through River Grove. They're not going to go all the way down and come around. They're going to cut through our development to turn around. And especially the people that live on the east side of that development. And I have the sheet, so I know what the houses look like and how it's set up. And something needs to be done. We cannot allow people to be cutting through our development. There's still children that live in our development, and it's just not right. Just like the problem we discussed with the bikers, Dave.
Sure. So Dave, I absolutely understand that there's the potential for people making that maneuver. In terms of what the majority of the people leaving the site will do, they will use the Route 45 access. If you're going eastbound towards the half-day area, they would have the ability to turn right there. If they're going northbound, they would use that same access point, go eastbound, and then northbound along Fairway Drive. Go ahead.
I understand what you're saying, but human nature isn't going to work that way, okay? They're going to come out on Buffalo Grove Road, they're going to go on to River Grove, and they're going to turn around, especially the people that live towards the east side of that development. They're not going to go all the way to the west side for just to go north. It's just human nature.
Sure.
Dave. You know that.
I do acknowledge that there is that potential that people would do it. We tried to mitigate it to the extent that we could, and we do anticipate more people using Route 45. We will monitor the situation and see how things are progressing, but we're really anticipating Route 45 is going to be the majority users.
Well, in Route 45, especially in the rush hour, is a total zoo. You know, some people may not want to do that, and, you know, sometimes it's easier to just go out Buffalo Grove Road and turn around on our development. And so I'm asking this board to review this. So somehow these people can make left turns, if even on Buffalo Grove Road, even if they have to redesign part of that development, because it will be a problem in our development. That's period. You got 51 homes. People are going to do it.
Well, we can definitely keep an eye on it because, but as our engineer said, that one of the main thoughts was that people that are going to do the northbound or eastbound would probably go out the north exit because it would be easier to do that than it would be to go into your neighborhood and turn around. So
No, actually, it's pretty easy because we got a left turn lane, so it's easy to pull out, get in the left turn lane, go into our development and spin around.
and we'll monitor, see what traffic looks like, and then we can,
I mean, I do realize we're not going to see this for another year or so, but I want to head it off, and that's why I'm here.
sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else wishing to address the board? Something not on committee? Okay.
Hi, my name is Dan Didich. I'm here in my capacity as the Vernon Township Supervisor. I just want to talk to you briefly about our new early voting location this year. In the past, we had housed an early voting location at the township's boardroom in our main office building. We had to move that this year because we converted that boardroom into a new food pantry. So the new early voting location is across Buffalo Grove Road at our Peterson Park facility. It's right next to our swimming pool. We're doing everything we can to make sure residents know about this new facility. We've put it up on our Facebook page and our website. It was in our newsletter. But if there's anything that this board can do or if your staff can do to make sure that your residents know that this facility has changed for early voting this year, that would be very helpful. If you could either throw it up on your website or if you have an email going out. We want to make sure that everybody who wants to vote has a chance to vote. We'll have staff and we have signs up at the old location directing people to the new location, but if you guys could provide any assistance getting the word out for the new location, that'd be very appreciated.
Also see the lady in the orange jacket back there. She's our communications person.
Will do. All right, thank you.
And the other really close one for people in Vernon Hills is the one up on Winchester Road, right at the Lake County Public Works?
Correct. Correct. That's any resident of Lake County can early vote at any location in Lake County. So even if some people live just north
Doesn't have to
of
be-
Town Line Road, it's easier to come down to Vernon Township, or if it's convenient, they could go up to Libertyville or over to Fremont. So during early voting, any Lake County location your residents can use.
Right. You don't have to vote in Vernon Township or Libertyville Township. You can vote in either.
Correct. Correct. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
This might be a good opportunity to talk about, on Election Day, our new location here.
Yeah, thank you. On Election Day, residents that have been served in the 3 or 4 precincts that were previously working out of the Lashen Center will vote here in Village Hall. For the primary, it will be downstairs in the Senior Center. For the November elections, it will be upstairs in our newly renovated space once it's complete. We were able to work with Lake County and the clerk's office and the like, and we're able to set up that new location for March 20th. So we're excited to be able to continue the tradition of having it at this corner to serve the 3 or 4 precincts that operated previously out of Lashen. So,
Okay. Thank you. Anything else before we get to anybody else? Okay, then moving on. First item is a proclamation in appreciation to James Horsch for his dedicated service to the village of Vernon Hills. James Horsch joined the Public Works Department in 1994 after supporting school bus operations as a mechanic at the Round Lake area schools. And James, nicknamed Jammer Horsch, quickly made his mark on the village with his automotive, woodworking, and car restoration skills. And during his 24-year tenure with Vernon Hills, Jim not only maintained a quality fleet, he remodeled the Public Works luncheon room and cabinets and transformed the Public Works mezzanine into a functional weight room, constructed the dugouts at the VHAC for softball teams. Many of the holiday light show displays were designed and built by Jim. Jim is truly a jack of all trades and can troubleshoot cars, shingle roofs, install electric circuits. No job is beyond his skills or his willingness to help a neighbor. When he's not busy helping others, he likes to spend time in his man shed. Jim is a great family man, marrying his high school sweetheart Judy, and always finding time to spend with his two daughters, Jessica and Sarah. Jim has left his mark on our village with his friendly demeanor and willingness to lend a hand and share a joke. Jim retired from the village on January 2nd, 2018. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Roger L. Byrne, President, and the Village Board of Trustees do hereby express our sincerest appreciation to Jim Horsch for his many years of faithful and dedicated service to the residents and employees of the Village of Vernon Hills, and wish him and his wife Judy and family well in his retirement.
Great. Thank you.
Dave, as Public Works Director, you want to come up and you want to say something?
And if I could, it is not by any surprise that we have Channel 5, Channel 7, and Channel 9 here to welcome him. So he has served us well.
Plus a police honor card.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to say
Yeah,
anything?
Judy did want to say anything?
Well, after 23 years, I've got to meet quite a few people, got to make great friends, got to meet a lot of residents. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. They didn't like me when I was plowing snow, but it's one of the duties. It's been a pleasure to work for you guys. It was great to have fun building the light show displays, helping out on the other small little projects. So it's great to see the turnout again, overwhelmed by the amount of support. And I look forward to the next 20, 30 years of retirement.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have one other proclamation to read. This one actually was handed out a week ago Thursday at the Park Board meeting to Phil Simbal. Phil couldn't be here tonight, and like I said, he already received it. This is in recognition, appreciation of Phil's volunteer services to the community. Over the years, Vernon Hills has had many community events. The success of these events has been based in large part on the use of volunteer staff to work booths and sell tickets. And in several events such as Summer Celebration, Rib Fest, Oktoberfest, volunteers working behind the bar and in the event tents have been a key component to the success of each event. Phil Simbal has been an important volunteer to all of these events. Phil could always be counted on to help serve and provide great service to the attendees of each of these events. Phil would work long hours helping to set up, organize the areas, and provide valuable input on how to set up and shared his knowledge to make things more manageable for each of the volunteers. Phil also sold raffle tickets, checked IDs, assisted with event setup, and was always willing to help with anything. Phil worked these events expecting nothing in return other than being able to share his knowledge, interact with attendees, and be part of a greater community event. Therefore, be it proclaimed by the Village of Vernon Hills that President Byrne and the Board of Trustees do hereby recognize Phil Simbal for his many years of volunteer service to our community and express their sincere appreciation for his dedicated service to the village. And I know Phil appreciated this greatly when he received it a week ago Thursday. So our sincere thanks to Phil. He was one of those kind of people that, I guess he won't mind me telling this, I actually drove him to school. And he was the last stop on the route. And he was one of those kids that at the end of the route would get up before he got to his stop. He'd go through closing all the windows for you. So his volunteer service started even at a young age, and he has always been like that both in this village, and I know he has volunteered a great deal for the village of Mundelein. So he's one of those kind of citizens we're all very proud of. So thank you very much, Phil. Next item, special committee of the whole meeting scheduled for March 13th.
Yes, sir, it'll be a continuation of the budget meetings.
Okay. And our next village board meeting will be Wednesday, the 21st, due to the primary election on the 20th, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Nothing else under village president. Village manager?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two things. The first is the GFOA Certificate of Achievement Award to Finance Director Nikki Larson. The Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting has been awarded to the Village and Finance Director Nikki Larson by the GFOA for its comprehensive annual financial report. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the area of governmental accounting and financial reporting. Its attainment represents a significant accomplishment by any governmental unit and its management team. CAFR, as it's known, represents the high standard of the program, including demonstrating a constructive spirit of full disclosure to clearly communicate its financial story and motivate potential users and groups to read the CAFR. This award represents the 16th straight year and the 24 total years that the Village and Nikki have received this award. Congratulations to Nikki and her team.
Also under yours?
The second item, and I think the reason everybody's here, tonight we're going to talk briefly about the skunk removal program and propose the reactivation of our previous program. As you know, we received a number of calls recently from folks within the Deer Path neighborhood with regards to skunk activity. It appears that mating season has begun, and with the spurt of warm weather that we've had, they've become more and more active as we go along here. What I'm recommending is that we activate the skunk removal program retroactive to May 1, or March 1, I should say, and alert residents that it is now available. As a reminder, the program requires that a resident contract with a licensed trapper and pay the setup fee. The program will reimburse the homeowner up to $75 per trapped skunk. Until June, the Village will provide the full reimbursement to residents for each trapped skunk. The Park District, as you know, partnered with us last summer and into the fall. They are currently working on their budget, and they are not able to partner with us until after their budget is approved on June 1st. We have also included funding in the proposed FY 18-19 budget. In your packet was attached the copy of the skunk removal and assistance program, which is dated March 6th. Again, it's the same program that we operated last fall, except it reflects that we are going at this on our own. So with that, I would entertain any questions that you might have, and if you see fit to want to move forward with this, I would recommend a motion to reactivate the program effective until December 31st of this year.
Okay. Trustee Schultz?
Without further ado, make a motion to reactivate the program effective retroactively to March 1st through the end of the year. My only other comment is that I hope our neighboring communities adopt this program also, because my son lives in Mundelein and he caught skunk number 3 today with his trapper. So anyway, without further ado, I make the motion.
Second.
So a motion, a second. Yeah. This has been money well spent. I mean, when you talk about, amount of dollars spent for a program that gets some good things done, this has been one of the better ones we've had. Anybody else have any other comment? Trustee Hebda?
I just was going to ask if the Park District approves its budget in June, then I assume they'll join us with reimbursement.
I'm assuming, but I don't want to speak for them.
Okay, all right, but we can look into that when that happens.
Absolutely.
So perfect. All right, thank you.
Yeah, this is one of those programs where you serve the community, and that's what it's all about. So if there are no other comments or questions,
We need a second.
is there a second?
David.
Yes. Yes, yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. Okay, hearing no other comments, is there a roll call then?
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye?
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay.
If I can make one comment to the press, don't leave yet, because we have, coming up at the end of the regular board meeting, we have some folks coming up that are looking for a permit to do a march on March 24th, and I think it might be some worthwhile things for you to record.
I thought you were going to ask him to stay here to watch the budget discussion.
I know.
Stick around for our discussion.
I wouldn't do that to my worst enemy.
Okay, next item then is Public Works Director, street rehab, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's the road.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
road rehabilitation.
Thank you. So I really wanted to give an update to the village board in terms of the road program for 2018. It consists of two different parts. One part is on the consent agenda, item G. It's the approval and passage of ordinance number 2018-036, an ordinance awarding the 2018 road rehab project to Peter Baker and Son for an amount not to exceed $166,671.10. The second half of the program is a larger patching program. You may recall previously this board authorized an ordinance with IDOT for motor fuel tax money in the amount of $500,000. So now that we have the numbers locked down in terms of what the road program would be, staff is recommending that we have a smaller program to further our $500,000 through town. The specific area that we're discussing is Greg's Parkway, the commercial area from Milwaukee Avenue to Crenshaw within the Bay Hill area. So that would be one part of it, and the other is to go to the Arbor Theater south, which is the Nike Base 6A area, and that would be the second component. So as part of the consent agenda, we are recommending that you approve that ordinance, and we're asking for direction from this board in terms of the moving ahead with going ahead and putting together a set of plans and working with IDOT to get it approved and use the remaining motor fuel tax money for this resurfacing project at Greg's Parkway and at Nike South, the 6A parcel. And if I could entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make the motion. Second it.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Okay, nobody else has any speaking parts till we get the budget, right? Okay, then next would be the omnibus vote agenda. Is there a motion to approve items A through H?
So made. Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye. Motion carries. Unfinished additional business, approval of the village board meeting minutes of February 20th, 2018.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments, questions, corrections? Hearing none, roll call, please.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Abstain.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item. Is this the resolution on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Approval and passage of Resolution 2018-008, granting approval to operate an outdoor special event for a March for Our Lives located at 500 Aspen Drive.
Thank you, Your Honor. Representatives from March for Our Lives are here tonight to request approval for an outdoor special event. This would be a rally and a walk to be conducted for the purpose of speaking out against gun violence. The event is proposed to take place on Saturday, March 24th at 11:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and would be staged at Hawthorne Middle School South parking lot, which is located at the green and red boxes on the map before you. They are anticipating approximately 1,000 participants as part of this walk. The walk will start at Hawthorne Middle School South, and as can be seen, the route is very familiar for the 4th of July parade route, with the exception of it then traveling through Deer Path Park, the Arbor Theater, Fairway Drive, Lakeview Parkway, and then back to Phillips Road, the Victory Center, and the Aspen Library property. The participants would remain on public sidewalks or park trails at all times during the walk, and volunteer event marshals will be stationed at the appropriate intersections to ensure a traffic pedestrian access is done safely. Event organizers have received permission already from District 73, the Vernon Hills Park District, the Victory Center, and Aspen Library. The board feels the request is appropriate. A motion to approve Resolution 2018-008, authorizing a special event for March for Our Lives, is recommended, subject to the conditions of approval included in your packet. And representatives are here this evening to answer any questions.
Okay. First board, you want to
Let them
Okay.
go first.
All right. Would you like to present a little?
Sure. 2 weeks ago,
And could we get your name and?
oh, sorry, my name's Gail Tavares.
You may want to use the hand mic.
Okay. My name
You
is,
need to turn it on first.
all right, just a bit up. Better?
No?
No? Hello, testing?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Gail Tavares, and I am an original owner in Deer Path. So I've been here for a long time. A couple weeks ago, after the shooting in Parkland, I was reading an article about Walk for Our Lives, where the students in Parkland were organizing a rally in Washington, D.C. to try to put a stop to all this gun violence. And I was thinking, well, you know, I'll go to Washington, and if I don't go to Washington, I could go to Chicago. And then I was doing a couple things. I thought, you know, why can't we just do it here? So I went on the Facebook Deer Path Neighbors page, and I just wrote a post saying, I would love to be able to march for Our Lives in the Vernon Hills, Mundelein, Libertyville area. Anybody interested? And it blew up. It totally blew up. There was all these responses as, yes, let's do it. And then Heather goes, yes, let's do this. And since then, we've been, a couple days after that, I came down to the village, talked to Mike to see how do I get a permit. And in the last 2 weeks, I think we've got a really good organization here we've put together. Right now, Heather put together a Vernon Hills March for Our Lives Facebook page, and there's 634 members, and we haven't even advertised yet. This is just word of mouth and part of the Vernon Hills. So as you see, we have the route, we have a stage, we have speakers coming in, we have porta potties they're ready to order.
I have to say that everybody that we have worked with, can you hear me? I'm sorry. I don't like to hear my own voice. I have to say that everybody that we have worked with in this town has been absolutely amazing. And we are just overwhelmed with the support that we have received from the park district, from the school district, from the library, from everybody, from the police department, the fire department, the village. It has just been overwhelming. So we want to thank everybody for that.
And could we get your name for the record?
I'm sorry, I'm Heather Rabbit.
I have a couple board members. Trustee Schultz?
First off, let me be the one that makes the motion to approve this for that particular date, March 24th, as Resolution 2018-008. The second point I'd like to make is several weeks ago, right after the Las Vegas shooting, I went on my soapbox here and said, this may not be the right venue, but I've got to say something. And I talked for a few moments about this is nuts. This has got to stop. I would have probably made the same comments at our last meeting, but due to the rainstorm, I had a sump pump problem that I needed to address. But with that being said, God bless you, thank you. And if you, come here, it's not a big check, but it's a check to go with your fund. I think it's probably the best thing I can do, seeing as how I said I don't know what to do. At least I can do a little bit to help this. And like I said, I'd like to be the one to make that motion to approve this resolution.
Thank you, that's amazing.
Trustee Hebda?
I'll second your motion because I know that you're working very hard. The one question I have, Chief, is if these 1,000 plus show up, what are the issues with parking and where will they park their cars before they start to walk? And I don't know if that's been addressed.
Go ahead.
or-
I think Heather
We,
is.
we do have permission from Hawthorne 73 to park in all 3 South School lots.
Okay.
And the library also.
And the
has to
library
park
too. 'cause
The
they were-
library gave us the 50-spot lot to the south.
So they'll close that off for.
They will
parking.
close that off for us.
What
They
about
said
the park district? 'Cause I know they have a function there in the morning.
they do. We will make sure that we have signs that says no event parking in front of the park district, because I know the Easter egg hunt is going on.
I'm wondering if there's a way to park by the pool area too, if that's not utilized, just to
Okay.
accommodate, but maybe we can talk to the director over there, because.
We will. Thank you.
Yeah,
for the
at
suggestion.
least that will help, so I can make that comment to him too, to make sure that maybe we can encourage those folks to park up on the north end of the lot and leaving that south end for people to park their cars, because you could get a tremendous amount of people, they're gonna drive, and we know they're gonna be parking their cars, so.
We do know the National March, the company Lyft has offered to drive anybody to a march in the country. So we will be contacting Lyft as well to see if they would be willing to provide that for us as well. And then, of course, encourage
Well, I
that.
too commend you for your work, and I know that it is a tremendously engaging topic, and let's hope that we can make a difference. Absolutely, thank you.
Trustee Hebda, I would just add that Joe Carey and our department and others will continue to kind of stay abreast as the
Sure.
development. So
Good.
if things need a little bit of tweaking here and there, obviously at the staff level, we'll make those adjustments and try and communicate with the other community stakeholders to make sure it's not. We want to facilitate it. I know that's been the goal. Everyone around the table so far.
Good, perfect.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to echo the sentiments that have been set up here. And also, one thing you might want to look at, you might want to look at some kind of a parking plan for that back lot at Middle South and have somebody back there to direct people. The reason I say that is because it's totally unmarked.
We actually
and-
may use that as our rally point because it is unmarked, because it doesn't have specific
Okay, good,
spot-
good, yeah,
spots.
because that, whenever we get a large, large group of people at the Middle South, that back lot becomes chaos because there's no.
But I drove by there and I realized there weren't any lines either, so we sort of decided that might be the best spot to rally. So, thank you.
And your GoFundMe fund, name of it?
The GoFundMe is the Vernon Hills March for Our Lives Fund, and if, we will make sure to post all of that information. But so far, we're on budget, so it's great.
Good. Good. Any other comments from any board members of that? Yeah, no. And sorry, but I unfortunately will not be able to attend. I will be in Vietnam at the time, so. We have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook, or Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda? Aye. Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you for
Thank
working.
you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. All right. Any other new business or communication to come before the board? If not, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn and go to committee of the whole. Is there an executive? Okay. So is there a motion to adjourn and go to committee of the whole?
Motion
So
to
made.
adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Roll call, please.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, going then to our committee of the whole. First item is approval of committee of the whole meeting minutes from February 6th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion is second. Comments, questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye. Motion carries. Now the fun part of the evening. The presentation of the 2018-19 proposed budget.
I think, Your Honor, I'll get the start and then give Nikki a chance to warm up, and we'll go from there. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. On behalf of the entire village staff, we're pleased to present the preliminary fiscal year 18-19 operating and capital budget. Over the next 3 Tuesdays, each of the departments will present their proposed budgets for your consideration. The document before you represents the efforts of various departments that have occurred over the past 5 months. Our goal was to prepare a budget which manages our finances with a focus on long-term sustainability of our operations. While it was challenging, I think we succeeded based on what you will hear in the upcoming meetings. I want to thank each of the department heads and their respective teams for their detailed work and the long hours they put in preparing these budgets. I also want to specifically recognize Finance Director Nikki Larson for her efforts on preparing this budget, the slideshow and the graphics and everything along with that. We have a running joke, charts and graphs that we start talking about months ago, so I appreciate your efforts on that. So a little bit of review for fiscal year 17-18, or the current year that we're in right now. We've expanded our communications to residents through our e-newsletter, use of social media, Channel 4 programming, and other opportunities. Thank you, Lynn Brandel, for that effort. We've seen development of a portion of the Cuneo Museum and Gardens property. We've seen Melody Farm explode out of the ground, literally going overnight from a farm field to what we see today. We saw Menards open yesterday after nearly 3 years. We've seen a handful of stores that have closed or announced that they will be closing. We're feeling the effects on our sales tax revenue from online shopping and more competition in the retail marketplace. We continue to see residential growth in the village, and especially from families moving in and taking advantage of our excellent schools, library, parks, along with our municipal services. Due to retirements, we've experienced the replacement of the 4th department head in the last 4 years. We've also seen the top leadership in the police department retire, and a new leadership team has taken its place. As we know, with new leadership comes different styles and expectations. The changes bring opportunities for growth while also presenting growing pains as we are all working on achieving higher standards and making the organization better. It's challenging, but definitely attainable. So what are we proposing in the proposed FY 18-19 budget that you'll be reviewing? First, continuing our operations in Public Works, Police, Community Development, Building, Finance, and Administration. Addressing concerns with downward revenue trends and creating long-term financial stability to address increasing personnel and capital costs related to infrastructure. We're identifying new revenue sources to offset reductions in state funding and the loss of sales tax generating businesses. Capital projects including MFT's annual road program, replacing a portion of the aging roof on the Public Works building, demolishing the Lashin Center, replacement of additional emergency sirens as a part and as identified in the capital projects meetings that we had previously. Creating operational efficiencies and upgrading technology through the installation of in-car cameras in police squad vehicles, upgrade of village-wide scheduling system, implementation of a new local adjudication process and e-ticketing program, and other related IT improvements. We're also continuing the planning and design process related to future capital projects, including a dedicated right turn lane on Aspen to Route 60, the Phase 2 engineering of the Hawthorne Lakeview Fairway Improvement Project, future maintenance assessment of Lake Charles, pathway connectivity at the VHAC, and updating of the village's 2012 Comprehensive Land Use Plan. We've also provided in the budget the mayor and board with the options to make financial contributions towards the District 73 proposed kindergarten expansion project. We're also continuing to update the village's finance and human resources policies and practices, implementation of a new purchasing and communication policies, and the rollout of the public safety Lexipol training program. And finally, we're continuing to replace vehicles and equipment as necessary. What does this mean specifically? We're proposing a one-time drawdown in certain fund reserves to fund one-time expenses. Fortunately, the board and staff planned for this possibility and built reserves over the years to accommodate this type of action. I'd like to note that this drawdown is consistent with our balanced budget ordinance and does not impact our AAA bond rating. We are also proposing to implement a 1% food and beverage tax and a 1% packaged liquor tax to offset decreases in sales tax revenue. We are in between sales tax revenue increases. With Menards opening, we anticipate we'll see about 10 months of sales tax revenue being generated from the store. Melody Farm begins to operate at the end of October. We anticipate receiving approximately 4 months worth of retail sales revenue in the proposed fiscal year. Due to the size of the development, new stores will periodically open throughout the calendar year 2019. For both, we will not see full year sales tax revenues generated until fiscal year 1920 at the earliest. We're also proposing a police pension contribution of $1.95 million as required by our actuary projections to keep on schedule and be 100% funded by the year 2040. Capital requests totaling nearly $1.6 million are proposed. They include partial replacement of the public works roof, updates to the police department firing range, demolition of the Lashen Center, ongoing Fairway, Lakeview, and Hawthorne intersection improvement planning, our annual road rehab program, in-car cameras in police patrol vehicles. We're also proposing to replace the dispatch center's 911 phone system, 4 police patrol vehicles, and a public works dump truck. Also, at the end of the current or the proposed fiscal year being the end of April 2019, both collective bargaining agreements will expire. This is for police and sergeants and the telecommunication bargaining units. We look forward to working with the FOP on renewing these important agreements. Can't give all this news without also providing some challenges that we're going to face. The loss of state revenue, as you all know, represents significant challenges in preparation of this budget and budgets going forth into the future. We believe that despite the efforts of various councils of government to request restoration of this revenue, the cuts to LGDF, or the income tax that we receive, and the sales tax handling fee, which is charged on only the home rule portion of the sales tax, are permanent. And we project that going forward, and that is included in our current proposed budget. Continuing uncertainty regarding Sears and the loss of Toys R Us and Babies R Us. We anticipate that bricks and mortar retailing will continue to be challenged. Changing trends with shoppers and retailers. Remember that nearly 56% of our retail comes from sales tax revenue. And in shifting legislative priorities downstate, we will continue to monitor the state and its budgetary related developments and coordinate responses with you, our local legislators, and various councils of government. We continue to also work with our councils of government in support of their legislative priorities with a focus on those that could have significant financial impact on our community. These include reforms in PSEBA, workers' compensation, pension reform and possible consolidation, and stopping future loss of LGDF and MFT monies. Finally, the need to find options to provide higher levels of funding for capital projects and especially for our road improvement projects that we have coming into the future years. We are up against it with regards to our road improvements, and the need for looking for permanent funding sources and higher funding sources is going to be something we're going to be looking at over the next year, especially with the new retail uses that are becoming online in the future. In conclusion, the proposed budget reaffirms our long-standing commitment to providing the highest level of service to our customers, that being the residents. We look forward to discussing the budget with you over the next few weeks. And with that, I will turn it over to our Finance Director, Nikki Larson, who will walk you through the slideshow, give you a high level, and then we'll turn it over to the individual department heads who will walk through their individual department budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I am pleased to present an overview of the 2018-2019 fiscal budget. Before you, at each of your places, are two PowerPoint presentations. If you look closely, they look very similar, but they are different. We are going to start with the one titled Proposed Budget Overview. Before I start, I would like to echo John's comments. I'd like to thank the departments, the department heads, and all their staff that spent many hours putting this together for you. And I would like to thank the board for your support and your questions. It's been a very productive process so far. And I'd also like to thank the finance department staff and the admin staff for a very efficient assembly line putting this all together. Okay, the first slide presents the overall budget summary by fund. Overall, the proposed expenditure budget is $31,304,670. This represents a 4.6% increase from the 17-18 budget. This excludes the $1 million payment that was made to the Melody Farm TIF fund, just to compare apples to apples. This chart reflects a summary of the proposed revenues and expenditures in each fund, and also shows whether each fund has a surplus or deficit. The top half of this chart reflects the general operating fund and all of the sub-funds that are subsidized by the general fund. As mentioned in the proposed budget documents and by John this evening, several of the funds are proposed to utilize reserves to cover one-time expenses, which is in line with the village's fund balance policy and balanced budget ordinance. The lower half of this chart reflects standalone funds, which are largely self-sustaining. Each of these funds has its own unique designated source of revenue or revenues to fund continued operations. Projected revenues or use of reserves in each of these funds are on the left-hand side of the chart and total $31,507,749. Excluding the bond proceeds that were in last year's budget, which, as the board may recall, was about $21 million, resources are projected to increase by 6.5% over the current budget. If the village opted not to use reserves, if we took that out of the proposed budget, revenue levels are projected to decrease by approximately 2%, which is consistent with the trends that we've been seeing. This chart reflects total revenues by fund. As you can see from this chart, the general fund collects the largest amount of revenues for operations, representing 79% of the total amounts received. As the board may recall from our discussion in November, as much as 75% of this revenue passes through the state of Illinois before it's received by the village. That's what makes us so susceptible to any cuts and budget changes downstate. The dispatch fund and the town center TIF are the village's next largest concentrated sources of revenue at 9% and 5% respectively. The dispatch fund is primarily funded by 911 surcharges imposed by the state, and those are shared with local jurisdictions, and also contributions from our dispatch customers. And as the board is aware, the main source of revenue in the town center TIF is property tax increment that's generated by that site. Of the expenditures across all funds, $21.5 million is for operations, representing a 1.5% decrease over the current budget. We've worked very hard to get this number down. $3.1 million is for debt payments across all funds, which represents a 25% increase over the current budget. This does include our debt payments for the TIF districts, and the reason why the debt payments are jumping so quickly is because payments are coming due on the village's 2005 GO bonds, and those will be paid off in 2021. That original bond issue was structured with higher payments in the latter years, so we've incorporated that into the multi-year plan. Budgeted general fund expenditures are 22.8%, which is a decrease of 1.4% from the prior budget. And as John mentioned earlier, the general fund budget has a $371,000 deficit before subtracting capital, summer celebration, Metra, and DUI subfunds. And it is proposed that a one-time use of reserves be utilized to cover this shortage, as the majority of this amount is attributable to one-time capital expenditures. This is not a repetitive issue. The total capital subfund budget is $1.4 million, which represents an 18.9% decrease from the current budget. And the TIF fund for the town center, the overall budget has a projected surplus of $118,000, which is great news. So the board may recall that that fund has seen deficits in prior years. But this TIF surplus is needed to repay its loan to the replacement fund and to cover future principal payments on debt. So we do need to aggregate the surplus for future payments. It is anticipated that some years may result in a TIF surplus and some years will end in a deficit position, but overall we will have money remaining in the TIF. The motor fuel tax fund is $1.49 million in expenditures. That will result in a $428,000 deficit. It is proposed that MFT reserves be utilized to cover this amount. Included in the expenditure amount is what Dave was referring to earlier at the village board meeting for the 2018-19 road program. The large increase in expenditures in this fund is largely due to the commencement of the Lakeview Fairway project, which is partially funded by grant programming. The total dispatch fund budget is $2.9 million, which is a 12.6% increase over the prior year. And as was mentioned earlier, this budget includes a one-time drawdown reserves for the purchase of a capital item, which is the replacement of the 911 system. The replacement fund budget is $315,400, which is an increase over the prior year of 38.6%. This budget now includes the purchase of public safety vehicles, which were not included in that budget previously. And please note the purchases in this fund can vary year to year based on need and wear and tear on municipal vehicles. The next chart shows the general fund revenues. It does reflect total revenues throughout the general fund and our major sources of revenue. As we have been discussing, the village is experiencing a downward trend in many of its revenue sources, specifically in the areas of sales tax, home rule sales tax, and telecommunications tax. As you can see from this chart, sales tax, which is just the 1% that is shared with the village from the state, represents 48.3% of the revenue sources for the general fund. Income tax and home rule sales tax are the village's next largest concentrated sources of revenue at 9.8 and 9.3%, respectively. As a result of the current downward trends in revenue, the proposed budget process included an analysis of the village's current revenue sources and the need to identify new revenue sources. As a result, as John mentioned, included in the budget is a proposal to implement a home rule food and beverage tax and packaged liquor tax, which are proposed to take effect September 1st. And this will be discussed in detail later. This chart reflects general fund expenditures broken down by function, with each department will be reviewing with you in more detail. Expenditures are concentrated in our largest departments, the police and public works departments, which constitute the largest portion of our staffing and programs. As would be expected in service organization, and you'll see as we go through each departmental budget, the general fund's largest expenses are related to our personnel. As the board may recall from the 5-year CIP presentation, some of our major projects included in the proposed capital budget are listed on this slide, which we've gone through already. And moving into revenue, this chart reflects the economic sensitivity and cyclical nature of the village's main sources of revenue, which include sales tax, home rule sales tax, income tax, licenses, and permits. We are concerned about current economic trends and the potential for additional impacts from the state of Illinois' ongoing budget crisis. As you are aware, we rely on population-based distributions of income taxes, or LGDF, from the state for a major source of revenue. This has been cut in the current year by 10%, and we do expect that cut to be permanent. And we will continue to monitor all of these revenues closely in the coming years. This chart reflects calendar year data from the Illinois Department of Revenue. It reflects sales taxes generated in the Village of Vernon Hills by category. This chart, in general, the largest areas of concentration lie in furniture and household items, which unfortunately includes mattress stores, so we do need them. Restaurants and other general merchandise. In these charts, we see the same trends that are cyclical in nature, but we are definitely starting to feel the growth slow down, mainly due to increased trends towards online merchants, Amazon and the other giants, and recent closings of several big box stores. In the proposed budget, sales taxes are estimated to remain relatively flat, projected to increase just 1.8% over the current budget. License and permit fees are decreasing by 55.6%, but this is a result of placing revenues back at their normal levels. We saw large spikes in this revenue due to major developments in the last couple of years, so we're resetting back to our normal levels. And the Illinois Municipal League is projecting a 2% decrease in replacement taxes for the coming year. And lastly, amusement taxes are projected to decrease 23 or 28% from last year. And this is based on current trends. We're seeing these revenues take declines. So we're hoping for more blockbusters to come out, as that certainly helps this revenue. Okay. Okay, we talked about the LGDF cuts. We do project the impact of all of these changes and the current economic trends, leading to a decline in revenue of approximately $579,000 in the current year alone. Assuming that these cuts are permanent, this is definitely something we need to address moving forward. Based on the trends, staff analyzed several different options to diversify the village's revenue sources. Included in the proposed budget is a 1% home rule food and beverage tax and a 1% packaged liquor tax. These taxes would apply to restaurants, grocery, and convenience stores, and entertainment uses such as theaters, golf courses, and bowling alleys where food is prepared for on-premise consumption or where packaged liquor is sold. It is estimated that the food and beverage tax would apply to approximately 150 businesses within the village and would generate approximately $1 million for food and beverage and $200,000 for packaged liquor each year once the tax is fully implemented. Without these new taxes, the proposed budget as it sits before you today would be facing a deficit of approximately $800,000. And that would be what we expect an ongoing deficit. This chart reflects comparative data from our surrounding communities that also impose food and beverage taxes. This is not a comprehensive list, but as you can see from the list, certainly a lot of our neighbors have also implemented this tax. Those marked with an asterisk also impose some form of a packaged liquor tax. Going forward, as John mentioned, we do expect to see increases in sales tax revenue with receipts from Menards and Melody Farm. We do expect that these additional sales taxes will help offset the effects of the trends that we're seeing and help us to be better prepared for other unanticipated store closings. But as I mentioned earlier, we do need to find a way to diversify the village's existing revenue streams. There is one request for an additional full-time employee included in the budget, and this is directly tied to the proposal of the food and beverage tax. Based on the volume of businesses that this tax would apply for and the volume of work that would be coming into Village Hall, we do anticipate this would be needed to handle the collections and the administration process. This is offset by two position eliminations that are in the budget before you. One full-time position reduction of the Deputy Chief of Support Services. That is currently under review, and we do anticipate that coming back before the board later on in a different format. And also a part-time reduction in the Public Works Department of a custodial position, which has been absorbed by contractual services. Bloomberg reported in January that U.S. hiring has picked up, that wages are rising at the fastest annual pace since the recession has ended, which is great news. They do estimate that private employers added 196,000 jobs back into the economy last month. However, government employers only added 4,000, so that's a stark difference between the two. This lagging hiring trend in governments is demonstrated in this chart of the village's staffing history before and after the recession. The village's highest employment was in FY 2003 at 127 full-time employees and went all the way down to 97 full-time employees in 2011. There are 104 full-time employees included in the current budget. Overall, this board and the village staff have worked very hard to maintain conservative spending and strong fiscal policies. The proposed budget before you today is a reflection of the continuation of those efforts, balanced with a response to the growing needs of our community and our aging infrastructure. At this time, I would be happy to answer any questions before we hand it into the general fund revenues.
Are there any questions from the board? Anything so far? Okay, then moving along.
That's my cue?
Nope, that's
No?
Are you next?
Almost.
Almost. The chief is very excited to present his budget. It's his first time. I don't blame you. This is exciting stuff. We have pictures and everything.
You're both rookies on this, right? Yeah.
So we are switching to the second PowerPoint in front of you. This is a different PowerPoint. We'll be working off of this for the remainder of the department presentations. We will try every effort to give you page numbers as we go through, but we will generally be working in order of the tabs on the printed budget. Before we start into the department budgets, I'd like to just give you a little bit more detail on the general fund revenues, which is, let's see, the tab at the bottom in the beginning. It's very bottom, right after the multi-year financial plan. Okay. So this first tab with general fund revenues accounts for the vast majority of village services. This is how we pay for everything that we provide on a daily basis. So this includes police, public works, community development, and administration. The total amount here is projected to be $22,857,219. This does include a use of reserves that we talked about earlier of $371,000. And as mentioned earlier, the proposed budget did include the analysis of current revenue sources. With the inclusion of a home rule food and beverage tax and a packaged liquor tax, we are anticipating that would generate about $800,000 if we implement this tax September 1st. Based on the time to communicate this change to business owners, we do want to give each individual business owner time to change over their systems and understand what this change is going to mean for them. A portion of this revenue would be used to offset the cost of hiring an accountant within the finance department. So again, these two are tied together, which is reflected in the administration budget. Almost there. The village's home rule sales tax is projected to decrease by 10.7% in the proposed budget. The home rule sales tax was approved to offset the terms of economic incentive agreements. As the board may recall, this was helped to incentivize new development at the mall. The numbers that are in the budget are all shown net of rebate, and this tax is currently running below projections for the current year. As we mentioned earlier, We have also seen declines in the village's amusement tax. The AMC Theater in Hawthorne Mall and AMC Showplace 8 have seen a decline in the current year. Amusement tax revenues for fiscal year 17-18 are running 18% below projections. For 18 and 19, we're projecting $215,000 in amusement tax revenues. The local share of state income tax, or LGDF, is expected to decrease approximately 11.4% from the current year's budget. This is based off of projections that we're receiving from the Illinois Municipal League. As the board may recall, the state did cut this budget, and we're anticipating that effect to be approximately $570,000. As part of their budget process, they also imposed a collection fee on home rule sales taxes, so that is also one of the reasons why we're seeing a decline in that revenue. And lastly, license and permit fees are projected to decrease approximately 55%. The proposed budget number is $641,000 based on projected permit fees that will be generated this year from construction and remodeling. And if there are not any other questions on revenue, this would be the chief's cue to start into the police department budget.
Any question? Trustee Schultz.
I guess this is as good a time as any. We had talked about the amusement tax and broadening the scope of that and what that might generate. Right now, it's my understanding that the ordinance in place is strictly for movie theaters. What would be the effect of broadening it to include the two new businesses that took over at Gordman's, Little Kickers and what the other one is, I don't have the name at the tip of my tongue. Thank you. And along with bowling alleys, the bowling alley and other enterprises, because those are kind of, I won't call them sin taxes, but they're disposable income taxes and/or taxes upon people that are coming in, potentially coming into the community as opposed to the residents themselves. So do we have any idea of, by taking it at its broadest brush stroke, what that might generate?
We could enhance, we would have to do some calculations to get the figure of what that would generate. We do get that sales tax data as a home rule community, and as a home rule community, we do have the ability to expand that definition, but we are still limited by compiled statutes. So we can expand the definition of amusement beyond movie theaters to include other entertainment uses such as bowling or
golf
facilities, yes, golf or other sporting events, anything that they sell a ticket for, charge admission for. So we could come back to the board with a recommendation of what that would look like.
I think that's worth doing the homework. I'm not suggesting that it has any impact on this budget or these documents, but I think it's something that we need to hold in our back pocket should we have a definitive need. Keeping that one forefront and keeping the whatever it is, the natural gas tax or whatever that we've relatively abated, but is available to us, keeping that in our tool bag alongside that natural gas tax. So.
And that is an option. The current tax is set at 4%. There is not a cap on that, so we could go higher. Using comparative data, our surrounding communities are anywhere between 4 and 6%. So we do have some room there.
Yeah. So that's worth the homework assignment for later this year.
Anything else from the board? Trustee Oppenheim?
So what are the caps for the proposed food and beverage and packaged liquor tax?
There are not caps either, but we are proposing a 1% on both of those items. So, did I answer your question in terms of
Well,
caps?
if there's truly no caps, it's.
You could go higher, but at some point you price yourself out of the market as well.
I just want to know what the options would be in the future in case other communities wanted to do that as well.
They're typically in increments of 1%. So what we're seeing, by comparative data, the highest we've seen is 2% in this area. But
Okay.
makes sense.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the board with a question? Okay,
Okay, Chief, you're up.
Chief?
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here with Deputy Chief Zimmerman to present to the board the proposed police department budget, dispatch fund budget, and a couple other small funds we'll talk about. In the budget book, page 47 begins the police department explanation. I'd like to point out that we've worked hard to largely present a status quo budget. There are a few new expenses I'd like to point out to you. The bottom line of the police department budget is $10,869,710. This is a 2.3% reduction from last year's budget, and I want to clarify it is that's at first glance. There's a few nuances I want to fully inform the board of, so you don't think that your new chief has come in and saved 2.3%, because that's not really what's happened here. As Nikki pointed out, the retirement of Deputy Chief Davies came at a timely point for the budget planning. The Deputy Chief of Support Services performed some really essential functions at the police department. However, we are undergoing some examination with our dispatch partners and exploring some potential organization and governance models that might mean that it's worthwhile to hold on to this position just yet, do some further examination. It's something myself and the manager are working on closely. I anticipate we'll be back before the board with some ideas and the associated costs that go along with those ideas in the near future. Another piece associated with the reduction in the expenses is we've actually a small sleight of hand that caught maybe Director Brown sleeping is we've moved some of the expenditures from this year's police budget to next year's public works budget. But again, in full transparency, I want to point out that we are requesting to replace 4 police department vehicles and the associated upfitting cost of those, but that now has been moved to the replacement fund, and that makes up a big chunk of that reduction. So some of the new expenditures involved in the budget, I'd like to point out something there called Lexipol. And what Lexipol is really a police, actually public safety, other public safety agencies use it, but it's a risk management system. It allows us to make sure that our policies and procedures are kept up to date, are kept modernized by any legal changes and best practices that occur throughout the industry are pushed into us. It also comes with a training system that keeps our staff fully informed of the essential elements of those policies. It's a very highly respected program. Many of you might remember some years ago we were involved in a system called CALEA, Commission for Accreditation of Law Enforcement Agencies. That is a very good system, but for good reasons the department has gone away from that. Lexipol in kind can be seen almost as a replacement for that, and it's something I strongly recommend we move forward to. The first year cost of that is $16,700, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. We've also requested replacement of our portable truck scales. We have several officers that are certified truck enforcement officers. With the traffic that moves through town on our highways, it's important that we're out there and we conduct traffic enforcement on those trucks. I was just out with one of those officers last week on a ride-along, observed him identify an overweight vehicle, and in a short period of time he had enforced those laws, and I believe that ticket was in the neighborhood of $1,700 he wrote because that truck was overweight. And the issue is if it's overweight, it's beating up our streets faster, and we want to stay on top of it. So these replacement scales would replace portable scales that are 15 years old that we got actually secondhand from another agency that we're done with them. And the most important thing about the new scales is if if you look at your Samsonite luggage and you got those little wheels on it, you can pick and you just pull it along. The new scales, which weigh about 40 pounds apiece, have wheels like that. Much easier for our staff to move and haul them around. I think we'll get good service out of these, and frankly, they'll pay for themselves very quickly. Two other programs I'd like to point out, although these are in the DUI fund and the drug forfeiture fund, which I'll mention in just a minute. The first one in the DUI fund is the in-car video camera recording system. Many of you know we currently do not have any recording capability in the field for our officers. I see this as a shortcoming that needs to be addressed. Fortunately, in recent years, there's been significant technology enhancements that make the newer systems more user-friendly, less likely to fail on you. Nothing's perfect, I won't purport that, but essentially, these videos are now uploaded to the cloud, and our state's attorney's office can access those videos for court purposes without a lot of the transfer or making and burning of CDs and a lot of things that caused us trouble in the past and frankly are challenges for some other departments. So I'm proposing an expenditure of $42,000 for the new system. That is a first-year expenditure. There will be an ongoing expenditure to keep those systems going. We've restructured how we use the vehicles, so we'd only have to put these systems in 9 of our vehicles, and there would be some ongoing costs in the out years with that system as well. In addition, we've requested consideration to fund a license plate recognition system. This is basically technology that builds special cameras into one of our police cars. Only one of them would be equipped with this. And it essentially reads license plates and automatically scans them against a database. It allows us to identify things such as stolen cars, offenders with outstanding arrest warrants, and frankly, with the level and flow of traffic we have through our community, it's a very valid law enforcement tool. Some of our neighbors that have used this have a practice of always sending this car to the scene of any kind of crime in progress, and instantly the cameras are collecting the data of the vehicles moving away much faster than an officer could observe this and write it down. And they've been able to clear cases because oftentimes the offenders fleeing away, they can go back and look and run those plates and have clues to track down. So again, that is a $22,000 cost. There is some ongoing cost in the out years of that as well. I'd like to then turn to page 27 and talk about dispatch fund, and then I'll answer any questions after all the funds, if you're comfortable with that.
I've just got a quick question on the Starcom radio.
Of course.
That's the encrypted system that ties in with the Lake County, and we are fully encrypted now, right? Nobody can watch us or listen to the scanners anymore.
That's correct. These are digital radios that only law enforcement has access to. I should say only public safety has access to.
You have no idea, though, how many people that's
Disappointed.
that they can no longer sit at home and listen to a...
I understand.
You wouldn't believe the number of calls I got last Friday concerning the white panel truck.
Of course. So on page 77, we start our dispatch fund explanation. The police dispatch fund covers the operations of our combined communication center. The fund budget is proposed at $2,990,937 and reflects a 12.6% increase. The large, personnel-wise and operation, this is really a status quo budget. We're not proposing any new positions or changes in how we operate at this time. We are, however, requesting the big portion of the increase is a new 911 phone system, and this isn't your old the Mickey Mouse or the Princess phones we're talking about. These phone systems are a set of computer servers enabled 6 different emergency telephone answering points in our communication center to all interact. And we have a current system now, but it's unfortunately end of life, and we can't be assured we can keep it up to date. Most importantly, the new system is what's called Next Generation 911 Ready. And so when you think of next generation, think of all the people that would like to be able to text to 911. And in Illinois, we really can't effectively do that. There is a statewide plan in place now. We hope that that capability is ready by 2020. This capability, this system, this phone system replacement makes us ready for that upgrade. And then the next 2 funds I'll touch on very briefly are the DUI and the drug forfeiture fund. I mentioned the 2 biggest expenditures out of that. The last remaining expenditure of the drug forfeiture fund is to enable us to implement an e-ticketing citation system. That was funded this year, but we didn't initiate it. It got held over. We really do think we'll be able to initiate that e-ticketing system where essentially officers can use their computers, generate a ticket, have that transmitted right to the courts or right to a new administrative adjudication system here, instead of having to handwrite a ticket, move it across different areas of the police department, hope it doesn't get lost on the way to court or any of that. So we hope to have that ready to go during the budget year. And the last fund I'll mention is the Board of Fire and Police Commissioner Fund. This includes a small increase to allow for personnel testing. We anticipate through the normal course of employee turnover, projecting the tenure of our staff, that we'll have to do some more hiring and certainly have to establish another original appointment eligibility list in the upcoming year. So with that, I'll address any questions that the board might have.
Questions from the board on any of those 4?
For a rookie, you did pretty good.
The only question I had really, and you kind of answered it, was texting, because that really appears to be a big, big thing, and the sooner we can make that available to people in this area to report an incident or whatever, the better off we'll all be.
Agreed.
Something I was just mentioned because of communications. Do we have, well, I answer this to the fact of do we? I think we do. Complications with communications in a building with any of our hardware. I use the mall as one of the factors of if there were a call, are there complications for communications because of breakup because of the building? If so, are there advancements for cell towers or items that would be placed in the building for better communication?
Certainly, certainly. So the STARCOM system is this statewide network. It's a public-private partnership between the state police and Motorola. Lake County built a very strong arm of that system a few years ago. We're on it now. We have what I would consider very, very good coverage in our community. It's not perfect. It's not bulletproof. I don't know we'll ever get there, meaning there's some areas of the mall that you can go into and an officer could lose contact with the radio. Fortunately, the system is designed so when you get out of range, the officer's alerted that that radio is not working. And we've taken precautions to provide a dual band radio to the officer that is assigned to the mall so that they have multiple means of communicating. So we work around it. Most of the other buildings, we have pretty good coverage. I certainly could not guarantee you that anywhere you go in any building in the town, you wouldn't lose it. But officers know if they lose it. So, and that's an issue that's been around for a long time, predates STARCOM radio coverage.
Any other comments or questions regarding police budget? What do we need to do with these tonight?
Traditionally, in the past, if the board, or if the committees feel that they're appropriate, there's a motion and a second to approve the individual budget line items.
Do we want to do the four that he just did as a mini omnibus, or can we do that?
You can do that if you'd like.
So it would be the,
$10,869,710 for the police portion of the FY 18-19 budget. So moved.
or do you want to do it as a mini omnibus and include the other funds? Which would be dispatch fund of $2,990,937.
Traditionally, we've done each tab.
Well, I mean,
It's your choice. I mean, and again, remember, this will all come together as a public hearing and get approved once again, so.
Yeah, because otherwise you'd need to be doing some math for us here, right?
Right, well,
So-
yeah, so
so
it
you want them
might
as
be,
a single tabs?
might be
Okay,
easier, you can
okay.
just,
All right, so we have a motion
Do it
on
one at a
the
time.
police
so I'll go
department
through the
budget.
slides for you too, I'll help on the dollar amounts.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second on the police department budget.
What was that number, two, no,
$10,869,710.
Okay, any comments or questions about that? Hearing none, roll call, please.
aye.
Trustee Hebda, Trustee Schultz,
Aye.
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim,
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka.
Aye.
And we need a motion on the dispatch fund for $2,990,937.
So moved.
Second.
Motion, a second, comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Schultz,
Aye.
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim, Trustee Takaoka,
Aye.
Trustee Hebda.
Aye.
The DUI and drug forfeiture,
So the DUI fund is $42,000.
okay.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion, a second, comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim, Trustee Takaoka,
Aye.
Trustee Hebda,
Aye.
Trustee Schultz.
Aye.
Motion carries. Drug forfeiture, 46,000?
46,000.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, a second, comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Markwart,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim,
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka,
Aye.
Trustee Hebda,
Aye.
Trustee Schultz.
Aye.
Motion carries. Police and Fire Commission, $15,639.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion, second, comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Oppenheim,
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook,
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka,
Aye.
Trustee Hebda,
Aye.
Trustee Schultz,
Aye.
Trustee Markwart.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay.
Community development.
Are we just following the tabs, or are we
Yep.
going to go?
Yep, community development.
So for your consideration, Your Honor.
Dave was kind of hoping we'd get.
Yeah, Dave wants to.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
On the deck, sir. I'm pleased to submit the summary for the Community Development Department budget for your review. The total proposed budget for FY 18-19 is $1,126,961, which is an increase of 2% or $22,229. A couple of major items of note within this year's budget. There is a total of $50,000 budgeted for the updating of the comprehensive land use plan. This was last updated in 2012, and in light of the tremendous growth we've had both with our residential and retail developments, as well as planning for the future growth, looking at strategic planning through emerging trends and technologies. We want to devote time and resources in updating that plan. In addition to that, $20,000 is budgeted for a planning consultant, and this is to assist the village in the redevelopment of the Hawthorne Mall. Also, another item that we have looking forward to next year, which helps offset some of these increases, is the elimination of a vacant part-time electrical inspector position within the building division. This position has been vacant for the last year, and currently we've been able to utilize existing staff. However, we've also had money available within our budget, existing budget, for any contractual services that we may need for that electrical inspection services. Another item of note within this year's community development budget is within our building division, and this is just a technical item, but for elevator inspections, there's a different financing tool that we're utilizing. In the past, what we've done is we've budgeted the revenue in the same account as the expenditure. However, we're following best accounting principles and separating those two out. So there's an expenditure increase of $16,000 in the building division budget. However, that is completely offset by the elevator inspection revenue that we'll be receiving that is within the revenue fund. Those are the major items or initiatives within my department. I'm happy to answer any questions. However, we are seeking approval for the community development department budget in the amount of $1,126,961.
Explain to me a little bit about the consultant for the mall.
Certainly.
What are the plans for that, for the 20,000?
As I'm sure you've no doubt seen, there's a number of different articles coming out almost on a monthly basis of major anchor tenants, some of which we have in town, announcing closings. Fortunately, none of those have announced any closings yet. However, it's prudent for us to take a hard look at that, because I do believe that that's something that, unfortunately, the village will have to take a look at in the coming future. For example, Babies R Us announced their closing. That property is owned by Centennial, which owns the mall. So it's something that we want to look at, take a holistic approach on developing the mall, understand what the current trends are with mall to redevelopments, so that should a time come when the mall comes forward with a formalized plan, we've got something in our back pocket to really say, here's our vision for the property, and here's what we'd like to see for the long-term development.
Will that also, excuse me, will that also include potentially discussing with Centennial some of the more, they have several other outlet buildings, don't they, like the Valley?
Yeah.
With regards to Bally's and the former Bally's property and the like, it's currently on the market. This fee or this proposed budget item is really focused on the mall property
itself.
and especially on the east side and what may come about on the east side of the property. So,
Right. Thank you. Any other questions or?
Can you talk a little bit more about the comprehensive plan update line item?
Sure. So the 2012 comprehensive plan was adopted back in 2012, and what that encompassed was it's a pretty lengthy document that covers really everything from a transportation plan, pedestrian access, bicycle plan, as well as the development of future properties within the village, as well as properties outside the village boundaries that we're interested in incorporating into our boundaries. Case in point, the Woodland Chase development, as part of our long-term comprehensive plan, we had considered annexing that property in for residential use. And so when a developer came forward, we looked at that and we found that it met the comprehensive plan for the development. Another example would be the Darling Farm. That currently is zoned for office research and development, and our long-term plan calls for it to be office research and development. However, current trends in the office market really might dictate a different shift in the approach of what we see for that development. The office vacancy rate within Lake County currently stands at roughly 18%, and the Village's vacancy rate for office use stands at right about that rate. So looking at a strategic approach of how we want to look at future development, such as that property or other properties within the village, helps us kind of reassess where we want to be looking forward to in the future.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns? Anything else on this then, Joe? No? Okay. Then
Motion to approve $1,126,961 for the Community Development Department budget for year 1819.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion a second. If there are no other comments or questions, roll call, please.
Trustee Oppenheim? Aye. Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye. Motion carries. Capital Subfund?
Thank you very much. We're pleased to present the capital subfund budget in the amount of $1,401,000. It's a proposed reduction of 17.49%, and I will hit on some of the key topics. We are fiscally responsible and trying to work within our means. We do have a lot of improvements that we will get done this year. The Public Works, the original roof above the original police portion is leaking. We're looking to spend $190,000 to fix that. We've had a recent study. I just got it yesterday, and we've looked at all of our flat roofs for all of our buildings. So I will come back to the board with some of the results and findings of that, but we know that this one is our #1 priority for fixing of roofs. The street construction, Aspen Drive, the right turn lane was in the current year's budget. We're moving it forward. We want to move forward with Phase 1, Phase 2 engineering in concert with the proposed kindergarten development and also Aspen Library. Preventive maintenance program is consistent with past years. That also includes our concrete and sidewalk program. Arbor Theater, we're looking to do one last phase. We think the $40,000 may get us through the remainder of the path improvements in that area, depending on how the bids come in. The golf course has a little bit of work that's needed to do. We want to do some seal coating of their areas, and also there's at the bridges there by the abutments, there's little lips, and we want to put some asphalt to bridge that. Let's see. $20,000 of work on the Phillip Road maintenance building. At the police building, fire range ventilation improvements, $80,000, and a 3-year program for improving the sirens 1 year after another, $35,000 each year. Lash and Center, proposing for demolition of that at $300,000. One of the things I wanted to highlight is the open space maintenance, $80,000. We used to have a sporadic, different smaller projects for maintaining atrium, ditch, et cetera. We're looking to go with a multi-year, multi-site contract, and we'll be moving forward with that with your approval. The stormwater management projects, there's been a lot of discussions of Lake Charles and the sedimentation of Lake Charles. We'd like to hire a consultant. We budgeted for $40,000. We do not have the money to dredge Lake Charles. That is going to be in the $3 million range. We want to reduce the sediment going into it. Des Plaines River Watershed Group talks about different impacts to the different lakes. Sediment is #2 on the list. Phosphorus, sediment, and chlorides are the big impairments for lakes. So we're going to try to, by this study, figure out how we can reduce the delta and the sediment going into the lake, and then we will look to see how we might be able to address the sedimentation of it. I've looked for dredging grants, etc. I've talked to everyone. They are just not out there. I certainly haven't found one. And then finally, at the VHAC, there's been good success in terms of the American Hotel Register parcel and uses there. We want to put asphalt path connecting the two and put a split rail fence up. So that is my overview of the capital subfund, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Trustee Markwart.
Yeah, on the Lashin Center, it's 300,000 for demolition. I thought it would run a little bit less for demolition. Why the cost of 300?
It's a placeholder.
Yeah, it's a placeholder. Mike Atkinson has a little more details as far as demolition. He's helped us with the Opus site and others. It was a rough estimate. We would come back to you as far as a more precise number. We certainly didn't want to shoot low.
Any fact, anything that's contaminated in that building?
As part
Asbestos?
of the demolition, we will be hiring an environmental professional who will help us through it. We know that that building has had problems in the past, and we'll figure out exactly what's in there.
Okay, Trustee Takaoka.
You have a question. So relative to the Lashin Center, how much does it cost to maintain that building annually? Is it expensive?
Aging.
There is a reason that the Park District decided to move out of it. It's reached its useful life. They told me that they were putting in about $100,000 a year to try to upkeep.
Oh, really?
Whether it's a roof, whether it's
Right.
the HVAC system, a lot of drainage issues that water has seeped into the building over the years, et cetera. Our recommendation is definitely to
Got to
demolish
demo it then.
basically.
If you're telling me it's 100K, yeah, that's a no-brainer.
And that's probably more than 100K. I think you're undershooting there.
The saving grace is we might, and that was their numbers, so the saving grace is we might be able to take one of their HVAC units and move it over to the golf course when we do demolish it, and it might improve that. So we're trying to think out of the box, but go ahead.
I'll throw one more question. The roof at the Public Works is, what was it,
190,000.
That's for the entire roof?
So that budget item was for the original police portion, which is the front part in administration area. The recent estimates that we just got yesterday tells us that we could spend a little bit more and do all of the building. I need to read the report and report back to the board as far as whether it actually needs it. We will come back with the recommendation whether we need to go through the whole building. Certainly the addition and moving back towards the fleet area, et cetera, is newer than the original part, and so our pressing need is really in the administration area, specifically by where Carissa sits. At times she needs an umbrella.
A thought is probably do the whole roof, but you do a split, put a portion of it for 1 year and the next portion of it, because that's what I was getting at. There's, part of the roof is newer than the other, so you can trade off on the cost of it for 1 year, do one portion of it, and budget it for the following year for the next portion.
My ears are open on that suggestion. We'll find out the exact cost of all of it. They are giving us an estimate on good, better, and best and how to approach it. And so thank you, and I'll report back to you on that.
What is the recommended, what's on there and what's the recommendation?
I apologize that I just received it yesterday. I don't have that, but I will. get back.
We'll be talking about this in the future, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Takaoka, did you have another? Okay. When, just refresh my memory, when is the road project going to begin on Linden and Midway?
So May 1, it will start. We've started putting together our communication. We're going to work with Lynn Brandel, get the word out, social media, et cetera. We're looking to reach out to the specific homeowners. That one's going to be an interesting project. We think it's going to go rather swiftly. It's going to be simply grinding the concrete, patching, and then doing an asphalt overlay.
Right, thank you. Anything else on the capital sub-fund budget.
And you're comfortable taking over his DUI fund money and?
Always welcome.
And accounting.
Motion to approve $1,401,000.
Second it.
Additional question?
Yeah, I have a question. The street and traffic light conversion to LEDs, which lights does that include? I can't imagine it's all our lights.
Yeah, so in terms of our street lighting, some of our high-pressure sodium lights are aging. We're really looking at, our first conversion was in the Corporate Woods area. We're slowly, instead of going through the whole village, we're looking to tackle based on needs. So I think we're going to hit the Corporate Woods area, one last section, but more importantly, there's some on North and South Woodbine that need to be converted. It's a small amount of money, $15,000, so it's going to be a very small area that we convert.
So how many lights does that cover, do you think?
With that, we're probably going to get 6 or 8 lights.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on capital sub-fund? Okay, we have a motion, a second, then roll call, please.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda? Aye. Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Next item, motor fuel tax fund, correct?
Thank you. We're happy to present the motor fuel tax budget. The dollar amount is $1,494,000. It's a proposed decrease of 18.52%. I did discuss earlier as part of the agenda the road program and our $500,000, which would also include the direction I just received this evening of going over to the Greg's Parkway commercial area and also the Nike, well, I can't call it Nike, I guess. It's the Arbor Theater South area. So in addition to that, the Lakeview project is moving forward. We anticipate Phase 1 approval, design approval, June 1, so it's in a new budget year. So the $425,000 that's in this current budget year is being moved over to the proposed budget year. As part of IDOT approvals and reviews, there was a slight increase in that of $49,000, so that's reflected in the proposed budget. We would be moving forward in the next budget year with Phase 2 engineering, and there is money included for that also. The village does receive 80% reimbursement from IDOT for that, so although it's a larger initial cost that we need to account for properly, the actual village expenditure is $94,800 for Phase 2 engineering. Land acquisition cost is not reimbursable, and so that's the village out-of-pocket cost of $519,000. We think that that number is going to be lower because we have acquired some property as part of the board's working with the Park District on the Opal parcel, and we're also talking with Bear Fitness about, or Bear Fit, to reduce some of the acquisition costs. Those are the larger projects with the MFT, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Trustee Schultz.
Actually, I'm not going to ask you the question. I'm going to ask Nikki the question. The 676,660, that's based on the IML's estimate of what the revenue is going to be, and it's based on a per capita, some $26 or something.
Correct.
Yeah. We know that that fund at the state level is diminishing because people are driving cars with better mileage, electric cars, et cetera.
They'll tax that, so.
Yeah, and I know that, so is there any effort on anybody's part to increase that revenue source? I mean, can we make that number one with a bullet, as they would say on Billboard, with Morrill and Associates, or to generate, because that's something that everybody across the state could probably get behind.
Yeah, I don't think there's any issue with asking the question and talking with our local legislators, especially to see if there's some desire on their part to sponsor some kind of increase. And I think that's probably something that will come long-term, especially with the capital projects or capital project and the plan set forth by the federal government, where they're going to be looking for states and counties and local municipalities to come up with matching funds to do larger projects. So I think that's something definitely we can lay out there with them.
Speaking of those larger projects, we're still just waiting for the state on Route 45, right? Basically.
Yes. We're looking for the state to meet with this board. We're hoping to get that scheduled about 30 days out after the budget process. And we'd like to bring them in and talk about the Phase 2 study, have them answer some of the questions. It's not to revisit what was approved in Phase 1, but we really want to update and make it more current. Really, the largest cost is the transitional lighting request along there.
But with regard to 45, they still haven't officially closed Phase 1, right? Don't they need to have a public hearing?
So they did have a design approval and a open meeting previously. So they went through the Phase 1 and they're into
They
Phase
did?
2.
Phase 2, yeah.
They did, sir. Yes.
I missed that.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything?
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Not sad I missed it, glad that they finished something.
Yeah.
It's not tangible, but it's something.
Anything else on motor fuel tax fund? Okay, did we?
Motion to approve $1,494,000 for the motor fuel tax budget.
Motion and a second. If there are no other comments or questions, roll call, please.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Excuse me, I said 1494.
Yeah.
Well,
you're right.
no, yeah, Trustee Oppenheim brought to my attention that if you go to page 136, unless I'm missing something, it's 1493.
It's,
That is for general purpose in MFT, and then there's also $1,000 for administration in the prior page on page 135.
1494.
Okay.
4.
Thank
So
you.
you're right.
We
You
got
got
it
it.
right.
Yeah.
Yep,
Right.
you had it correct.
Okay.
Again, all's fair in accounting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next item then would be the Metra parking subfund, Metra subfund.
Thank you very much. The Metro subfund budget proposed is $72,000. It's an increase of 15.28%. A lot of our normal and customary items are included. The large increases due to the exterior painting that's needed, $9,500. There's a couple of other smaller ones, $1,000 electronic fare box repairs, $2,000 more for contractual snow plowing, and a locksmith at $1,000. That's my presentation. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions about the Metra subfund?
We're,
Is there a motion to approve at $72,000, correct number?
yes, sir. And that leaves us with the 26,000 in the accrual fund for future paving. And as long as we keep doing that, when did we pave What are the dates of the paving in there, and when are they coming due again?
So we have paved one section. The following section would be paved in about 8 years. If I tried to do some averaging, if we collect about $30,000 a year, 240,000, that would be fairly close to paying for this other section. That being said, we charge $1.75. We could go to $2, but that's limited, and we got to get approval by others.
Right, and that was kind of my sidebar question, was that, is this an appropriate time to go back to Metra / whoever else we need to go to look at increasing the parking fees so that we make sure that this accrual fund is fully funded? Because like you're saying now, it needs to be over 30,000, maybe 35,000. We only funded at 26,000 this year, and I want to make sure that we got the money in the piggy bank, because last time we funded the bigger piece out of the general fund, and I think some of the largesse that we've explored in the past, we need to think about.
And if I can help with current status, we're projecting to end this year with about 140,000 in reserves for Metra. And Dave is projecting about a $26,000 surplus for the budget as is proposed before you today. So that would be added to those reserves. So that would, if all goes as planned, that's where we will end fiscal year 18-19. And I'll turn it over to Dave in terms of how much repaving would cost.
Thank you, thank you. So I concur with your comment whether we should raise it or not, and how easy that is to do with Metra. I think we approached them previously with the request.
It was very difficult, I remember the last time. That's why I'm suggesting maybe we want to start that process now so that we get ahead of the curve and make sure we got the cash.
Sure. And the numbers that we're sharing, that's really to help with resurfacing the next portion. It's not taking into account what we just fixed,
Right.
which is starting to age also.
And maybe someday we'll be able to afford a toilet. No comment, John?
Not under the current parking fees that are being charged down there, so.
The thought was, if, in fact, actually, Cindy brought it up, if there was a way to have an income that comes out of it to offset it, because once you build a job, then you got to maintain it, heat it, the whole shop.
True.
But the thing is that if I looked at vending machines, we have cameras there, I don't know if it would be vandalized. Cindy brought up a comment, if you had a food beverage truck that would be there during a time frame, and you overheads on him, and you get a percentage of his. So I don't know. That's something to take a look at.
And then they would need the bathrooms.
But then he.
Okay, anything else on Metra?
Motion to approve $72,000 for the Metra Substation Fund budget for year 18-19.
Second.
Motion second. If there are no other comments or questions, a roll call, please.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Motion carries.
How are we going? What was the plan for tonight?
Do we want to?
Look at Dave. He's just like, come on.
No, don't worry, Dave.
What was the
We're saying you're good tonight. We're just talking about maybe stopping after that. I don't know. Let's go ahead and do this and then we'll.
Maybe a suggestion that we allow Dave to finish tonight, and so we can get the replacement fund.
Up through
I mean,
the
if
replacement.
you want to go through community events, we can, and then we stop, or however you want to do it. I would say not to go into general purpose budget. That, I think we do general purpose and administration on next Tuesday and the like, so.
Okay.
But let Dave finish and.
Yes. I agree.
He's
Let's go, Dave.
almost there. It's the home stretch.
So With your approval, I'll move forward with the Public Works Department budget overview. The proposed budget is $5,191,829. It's a proposed decrease of 1.59%.
Can you give us that figure again, David? It's different than the one we're looking at?
Repeat the figures, please.
Because it's different than the one we're looking at and on the screen.
We have 5,188,829.
Yeah. Maybe we need to have Dave
I'm
come
on
back next.
page 149 in the book, and I'm not sure on the screen. Let me compare the two.
Yeah, I'm
Dave, maybe we
147.
Dave, should we put you off to next week then, or?
If it was less, Dave, then we would have had no problem, but.
Oh, I see, you're on, yeah, on
The
page 148.
5,188,829 is the total that is on page 184 in the book and the summary, so that is the correct dollar amount.
But on 149, it's 5,191,829.
It's 2,000 more, 3,000
So
more,
the
excuse me.
summary total in here is not correct on page 149, but the actual detail totals to 5,188,829.
Okay, so the number on 147 is the correct number.
Is the correct one.
Okay,
Correct.
all right, thank you.
Okay. So,
Sorry, Dave, we lost
the-
you $3,000.
The-
so-
It's not a good start, Dave. This is
So-
not good.
So pivoting and moving right along, the proposed budget is $5,188,829.
Okay.
It is a proposed decrease of 1.65%. So in terms of the budget, salary, wage, and fringes have decreased $51,418. That's reflective of the elimination of the part-time custodial position. That was John Fossmore's position. It has been absorbed by our cleaning contractor. And then we have an opening for the mechanic vacancy. Jim Horsch was just here and looking to fill that position. So let's see. In terms of the overall budget, due to our financial constraints, we have a limited our replacement of large equipment and infrastructure improvements. This is really due to some lost revenues from the state and lack of a consistent funding source for capital improvements. I concur with the comments earlier as far as trying to find a funding source for our capital improvements and roadways. In terms of the overall program, let me hit on the key items. So notable changes include the reduction of the one position. The Lashen Center will, we're hoping it will not be open, so there'll be less maintenance required as part of that. We have some leadership training that is proposed because we have some great veterans that work for the Public Works Department right now. They'll be retiring into the future, and we want to train our future leaders. A little bit of IT costs that are not in the finance budget are included in the Public Works budget. Snowplow services is a larger portion of the increase, $48,105. Some of the increase you've already seen. It was presented to you as part of the James Martin and Associates contract, so that did go up. We have improved that service by adding more vehicles and requiring that of them. So that's how we've improved our services. Their turnaround time is much quicker since that approval. There's also a proposal for $75,000 to expand the use of contractors for snow removal. That's something that we want to have as a holding dollar amount. We're not saying necessarily we're going to spend that. My department, myself, we're responsible for looking into the costs, and we want to come back, present something to John, present something to the board that makes sense. We do have a couple new subdivisions, Woodland Chase and also the Pulte Loyola development, so we'll have a little bit more services internally. We are first going to look to provide that service internally. but then we may have some overflow or capacity issues. So two subdivisions that we really want to look in that right now we fund them just by giving them a check for their contractor to use, to pay their contractor, is River Glen and Sarah's Glen. And so we want to revisit that and look at the math, but I will come back to you with what, any revisions to our snow plan and make sure you guys approve that. So I will be back in touch with you on that one. In terms of snow and ice control supplies, a net decrease of $33,175 is proposed. This current year's budget, we budgeted for 1,600 tons of rock salt. We're proposing 1,200. We also had 756 tons of salt that we thought we were going to bring over in this current year's budget. We didn't have to. That's going back into the general fund. We do currently have about 600 tons of salt currently. With this proposed budget, we'll have another 1,200 tons. And so that, as long as March stays the way it is now and we don't have any big surprises, my recommendation is we go with 1,200 tons of salt for next year. Should we have a drastic change in that, and I don't want to jinx ourselves by having this conversation, we will come back and talk to the board before it gets approved, but we'll know more in a few weeks, but that's our current proposal to the board. We're spending a little bit more money on anti-icing and beet juice products also, so there's a little bit of money included in that. Fuel, that's really in working with Nikki in terms of accounting. We have other entities that purchase fuel from the village, and so it's really having a proper accounting for the revenues and expenditures for that. So we're not asking for additional volume of fuel. It is just proper accounting procedures. In terms of vehicle and equipment purchases, we're really looking to have a lean budget. We're proposing to, instead of replacing one of the large 5-ton dump trucks, we're looking to have something that's is not a duplication of the majority of our fleet. It's more of a mid-size truck that'll still provide the service that we need to. So that is the proposal in terms of equipment. That is my presentation to the board, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
And Dave, if you don't mind, if I can help with the difference between page 149 and 147, the difference between the two total numbers is $3,000, and that represents the amount of overtime that we removed related to the French Market. So that was a last-minute change based off of a board discussion. So the correct dollar amount is on page 147. It's the $5,188,829.
Great job.
Thank you.
I appreciate we have a CPA helping us on this, so. And a doctor.
You've got a net increase of 2,000 for HVAC supplies for this building. I know we've had some issues. Is that going to be enough?
We know this building has struggles. It's something that we knew we had to increase. Whether it is enough or not, we'll find out depending on what failures we may have in the building. If we need more, I will absorb it in a different account.
Okay.
Trustee Markwart?
Going to ask on fuel, what, because of the Park District, Countryside, they pay an additional fee. What is that fee?
It's in the agreement. I don't know the exact surcharge, but we did a calculation to determine what our cost for maintaining the system was. It's about 3 years old as far as that study, and so we added a surcharge to that, but I don't have that number.
That's where I'm going, because things age and break down, and you have to have the cover for it. Okay,
Any other comments or questions on the Public Works budget? Okay, is there a motion to approve $5,188,829?
Yes. That would be the-
Second it.
No, I'm asking,
Okay.
is there a motion?
Motion.
Yeah.
Motion to it.
So moved.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. If there are no other questions, a roll call, please.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim? Aye. Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Motion carries. Replacement fund budget?
Thank you very much. The replacement fund budget is proposed at $315,400. It's a 38.64% increase. It contains two different department line items, entities. Public Works, the proposed replacement fund, equipment budget would be for a mid-size dump truck, like a F-750, $130,000. As I said before, it provides an alternative to our larger dump trucks that we have a fleet of, gives us another alternative, and the price point is much better. It's $60,000 less. In terms of the police department, the proposed budget's replacement of 4 patrol vehicles, $148,000, and then setup by police vehicles by outside vendor, $34,000, and some Wayland light bars that go with it, or a single one, $3,400. And that's my presentation.
Motion to approve $315,400 for fiscal year 18-19 for the replacement fund.
Second.
Could you give that number one more time?
315,400.
Okay, all right. Any other comments or questions on the replacement fund? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Oppenheim? Aye. Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Thank you.
Do we want to do the events in Somerset tonight? Yeah? Okay, that's fine. They're both very straightforward. Event fund?
Thank you. The events budget here before you is proposed at $106,540. This reflects a $6,325 increase from the prior year budget. This amount includes the Arbor Theater Concert Series, the Fishing Derby, pageant, Summer Celebration Fireworks, July 4th Parade and Fireworks, and Oktoberfest. It's by and large a status quo budget. As noted, the Arbor Theater will again have 5 concerts. The French Market is eliminated in this budget pursuant to board direction. The increases that you see really are related to the 4th of July and Summer Cell fireworks. We've been using Melrose Pyrotechnics for a number of years, and we have not seen an increase from them for about 3 years now. Due to that, we've spoken to them to kind of ensure that we're budgeting appropriately for future increases, and they've indicated that we would likely see an increase in the coming year. They didn't have an exact amount, but they indicated that it was on a percentage basis below what we're currently proposing in this year's budget. So it's just in making sure we're budgeting adequately. That's why those amounts are reflected in that amount. One item of note is related to the pageant. Last year, we only had 4 individuals participate, and even though the budget amount is $5,940, we did want to bring this up for board's discussion, given the low volume of participants.
Maybe just an extra comment. I know they're marketing it. They've already started marketing already for this coming year, And as Joe said, you know, they had 4 participants, so basically everybody got a trophy last year and the like. And I guess the question that we would like to bring back to you is, should the number be similar to this, then should there be a discussion about whether that program needs to evolve or devolve as the case may be? So I think that's kind of what we're talking about, and we just want to plant the seed with you all that there may be a future discussion on the long-term prognosis of this pageant.
Okay.
What are the expenses for the pageant? I see the dollar amount, but where does that go to?
The expenses go to,
Real big trophy.
for tiaras, sashes, food supplies for the
The
luncheon.
rental of the facilities too, correct? They'll rent wherever they're at, or not, no?
Use the Sullivan Center for
So
free.
they don't charge?
They use the Sullivan Center for, yeah.
And then there's a check that's provided to the individual winners at the end of the season, or when they make the transition.
All 4.
So all 4 will get a check, so, yeah.
And there are actually, the detailed expenses are listed out on page 201, towards the top of the page.
Those include items like flowers, judges' meals, 4th of July candy, as well as, DJ, MC, auditorium, just miscellaneous expenditures. So the amount in the events budget that we're seeking approval of is $106,540.
Any other questions on the events fund? Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve, 1,006.
100.
106,540. 106,540.
Motion is second. If there are no other questions, roll call, please.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Motion carries. And this will be our last one tonight, summer celebration.
Thank you, Your Honor. Summer Celebration is proposing $186,385, or an increase of $850 over the previous budget year. As you know, this budget is the main funding source for the event and provides the budget actually provides a use of fund reserves of about approximately $32,000. This is traditionally, this supplement has traditionally happened, and quite frankly, as you all know, their biggest source of revenue is primarily from beer, the beer tent. And if we get one rain out or something like that, the general fund actually pays more to subsidize the event. So overall, the projected revenues are to remain stable and the same. We're anticipating some increases in cost for the car show supplies, the trailer rentals, and the cleaning expenses. Also, there's an additional $2,500 in the budget this year for a possible new event, being the 5K fun run, which will be held on Wednesday. They're still organizing that event right now and looking for volunteers to help assist with that. But their idea was trying to do some kind of family event or some kind of event on Wednesday, and as a preliminary opener to the event. So Park District has said okay to using the route. The issue is finding a route that doesn't run you through the middle of the carnival rides. So so from that perspective, the proposed budget is $186,385, and it represents an increase of 0.46% over the current budget year. And I can answer any further or in-depth questions that you may have.
Trustee Schultz.
2 points. Number one, do we know who the entertainment is yet this year? And is it announceable?
It is not They are still negotiating with the headliner for Saturday night.
Okay.
It will be a country group of some sort,
Okay.
but we're still negotiating, so.
Okay. And then the second, I guess just maybe it's direction that we need to give to the Summer Celebration Committee. 30,000 is starting to be real money. And like you said, if we have a bad night, then it becomes 40,000 or 50,000. Maybe there's some thought to putting up the fence and running it a little bit like the August, yeah, the Beer Fest, Rib Fest, excuse me. I don't know, I'm not saying to do it and not to do it this year, but to evaluate it and not arbitrarily throw it off the table. I know we've never done that, and if we keep it nominal enough, I don't think people will mind too much. I mean, I'm even just talking about a couple, $3.
Yeah, absolutely can keep it on the table. I will tell you, logistically, it will be a nightmare. So from that perspective, remember that you have the stage right very close to Lakeview.
Right.
And all those people who may not pay can sit on the street or in the, and it just becomes logistically a challenge.
Well,
But
it
I
becomes
don't-
an
I don't mean
enforcement
to-
issue,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, so, I will tell you, the committee is working on obtaining sponsorships. And they've assigned actually a person to go out and solicit sponsorships to try to raise the money, to try to offset some of the costs. So they are absolutely aware of that, and they're working at it.
And then the other is, you know, one of the reasons that it works with Rib Fest is that you've got the ribs cooking, you've got these marvelous smells going up through the air, and if you don't, you know, you can smell it, but you got to pay the $2 to get in, or whatever the fee would be. Their charge, Rib Fest charges $5, but to get to the food, so maybe we make a concerted effort to even, you know, improve the food selection too, to make it that you really want to come inside.
Right.
But it just, they have to be cognizant of that as time marches on here.
Yep, no, I understand.
On the other hand, you can look at that 25 or 30,000 as $1 a person now, so, that we're putting out. $1 per person. If we can put a festival like this on for $1 per person, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You know, I don't want to diminish it.
I know, yeah.
But I'm just trying to be realistic too.
I got a question. Hey, John, I have a question.
Trustee Takaoka, yes.
Is there any way we could incorporate like food trucks into Summer South somewhere? Is there a place where we could just have a whole bunch of food trucks come in? What about down Hawthorne Parkway by the fields?
Again, logistically, I think it would be tough on the circulation in there. I mean, as you recall, we shut off half of Lakeview already to deal with the carnival trucks and those types of things and their vehicles. And so, and the trucks associated with the logistics and supporting the event are all parked on that road. So, I mean, it's something we can potentially look at, or something to consider in the future. I mean, maybe we try food trucks as a part of the Oktoberfest event or something like that, and do something a little bit. So, yeah, so maybe there's something that we can look in doing something on that order, and that might make it a little bit simpler from.
Get a learning out of that.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Okay, any other questions, comments regarding summer celebration?
The run, John, the 5K run, is that done in the evening, or what is the thought
Yeah,
behind
it'll
it? Or
be
during
evening.
Evening, so, and there'd still be, the carnival would be set up at that time? or you don't
We're
know?
not sure yet whether the carnival would be operating or not, because they typically are still in a setup mode.
Right,
But it would, they're still working on the logistics of it. It would be after rush hour, but, you know, we still have to figure that out, and they're not there yet, so.
Okay.
Motion to approve $186,385 as the summer celebration fiscal year 2018-19.
Second.
Motion is second. If there are no other questions, a roll call, please.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
And we will
Do we have to
pick
adjourn,
up
or
with,
can we like leave it?
No, you would adjourn, and
Because we've already
the
got the
next
special
meeting will
meeting.
be a special meeting,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
so we will pick the budget back up at the special meeting next
Next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Correct. 7 o'clock here, and the only item that we will not consider that evening will be the golf course, Muni Golf Course, because they're scheduled to come on the 21st. They can't get here before then, so.
All right. In that case, then, if there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So made.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Hebda?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you and good night.
And we'll definitely